Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. We are continuing right along with our Alchemist guide. We're at part 10, and we're at level 6 for the extracts for the Alchemist. Now, Alchemist, this is the pinnacle of their power as far as their extracts go. All together, this should blend in pretty nicely and come together for a really, really nice character build where we have our Junkrat bomb throwing specialist able to just huck out load after load of their own extract made bombs. They'll have a tremendous amount of firepower. However, they do have a bit of a glass cannon issue, but we'll get into all of that later. For now, all of you essential and non essential workers out there hunkering down at home, let's get moving right along, shall we? Starting us off, this is an excellent spell, and it is twin form. Now, what this does, you target yourself, and I don't believe this is a spell that can apply. Well, I could make an argument. I could see an argument being made for this being able to apply to other party members. It lasts 1 round per level, so it's got a kind of a short duration, but it's well worth it. This extract creates an exact duplicate of your body that you can shift your consciousness back and forth between as a free action each and every round. Now, you can act normally in whichever body you're in, while the body you're not inhabiting is treated as if it were dazed and it's only able to take single move actions. Your duplicate will have the same stats and hit point totals that you started with when you took this drink. So if your max is 80, but you're at, say, 62 hit points, the body will be created with 62 hit points as well. If you've suffered any drains to any of your stats, that will be reflected in the body as well. Equipment will be shared between you and your double, so when you throw one of your bombs, a bomb will disappear from your double as well. The body you are not in when the spell ends will crumble to dust. You can change bodies at any distance as long as they are both on the same plane. And if the body you inhabit is destroyed, you automatically shift to the other body and are treated as stunned. This is incredibly useful. I mean, I can see all sorts of scouting uses. Not only that, but creating a duplicate. Just even if, say, the opponents are directing attacks at the duplicate, those are attacks used on the duplicate, not on yourself. And it's attacks that get spread further and further out amongst all the players. Plus, if they ignore the duplicate and this thing is able to maneuver around, it's only able to take single move actions, but you can get into different positions. Say this thing's moving from a concealed location in some kind of stealth and the enemy's not aware of it. Well, then you can bamf out of it, shoot your consciousness over to the other one, and then be in a good, ideal position, throwing your bombs from concealment, or even throwing down an invisibility spell on yourself in order to further your stealthy goals and allow you to attack from, well, safety with relative impunity. But after that, we have another spell that is really incredible. I'm not a big fan of the cure light wounds, moderate wounds, all of those spells, but heal. Heal is a different story. It's touch range, it's an instantaneous effect. You will heal up to 150 points of damage. Normally it's 10 points per level, but at level 6, these are 6 level extracts, these are kicking in around level 16, so you're topping out at the maximum HP value right there. And this will also remove ability damage. Blinded, confused, dazed, dazzled, deafened, diseased, exhausted, fatigued, feeble-minded, insanity, nauseated, poisoned, sickened, and stunned. That's 15 status effects that can be removed, and if you're somehow suffering from all of them at once, or the party member you use this on is, well, you can wipe all that away. It doesn't take care of negative levels or permanent ability drain. But even still, this is really damn handy. And it's a nice little pocket heal, little ace up your sleeve to keep you going in the fight. And after that, we have one of the best admixture extracts, and this is Caging Bomb Admixture. It's a target self standard action, and this is definitely one that will only work on yourself, as you're being an alchemist, you're the only one able to create bombs from your material components. This lasts 1 round per level, so this will get you 16 levels. You add a wall of force that encompasses the splash zone of your bombs. Typically, it's only going to go around the target that you've aimed and thrown directly at, not anything that would be normally in the splash zone. They'll take damage as well, but they kind of get shunted off to the side as this force effect takes place. The barrier will block up to ethereal travel. Disintegration can destroy the cage, and creatures can teleport out of it. It's not immune to damage either, so it can be broken through. But you've got, say, you're hurling 4 bombs in a round. You throw 4 of these at one target apiece. You got 4 targets that are now trapped in these force cages. Absolutely incredible for just really messing with the enemy's strategy, their layout, all of that. And forcing them to have to teleport around unless you're fighting things that can teleport at will, which, level 16, that's certainly a possibility. You're really going to do a lot to hinder your opponent. And even then, forcing something that can teleport at will to have to move away out of position, possibly even out of range, or, even if they just have to teleport 30 feet over, that still is forcing them to burn up some of their actions at least, if nothing else. But these are not all the spells that we have access to. Oh, no, you all know this by now. And we are moving on to a very handy traveling spell, and that is Shadow Walk. It's touch range, and you can affect 1 creature per level, and it lasts 1 hour a level. So 16 hours when you first get this, if you decide to get this right away. You have to use it in dim lighting, but that's about the only stipulation on it. You and any other creatures touched are able to travel along a roiling path that rests on the border between the material plane and the shadow planes. All creatures traveling must maintain contact with one another, including you through a chain, whether you're walking in a line, holding hands, or whatever. As you walk the shadowy path, you move normally on the plane of shadow, but for the material plane, you will be moving up to 50 miles every hour of travel. You can't judge the distances or make out any details, so this isn't going to be very handy in terms of any kind of scouting. This is strictly just for traveling swiftly over and through all kinds of terrain. You may step out of the path, or upon the spell's end, you will be shunted out, and you go 1d10 times 100 feet in a random horizontal direction from your target endpoint. If this lands you and the creatures that you've touched, inside of a solid object, you are then moved another 1d10 times 1,000 feet. And if this still leaves you in a solid object, you will be moved until you emerge in open space and are then left fatigued. No damage taken, but say you end up inside of a mountain, and in order to get out, you have to be shunted through the mountain. Hopefully you'd come into some kind of a cave system, but it's entirely possible, depending on how much of a dick your DM wants to be, they may leave you trapped in a cavern that has a limited air supply. But if they're not, they can still, well within their bounds and rights, say, okay, you are on one side of the mountain, and now you are shunted completely on the other side of it. Now, you can get around this by shadow walking again and going around the mountain relatively quickly, but you may want to take a little bit of care, and that's what prevents this from being a blue rated spell. This one's green because you can cover a ton of distance quickly, but the random effect at the end, while entertaining, hilarious, and still certainly doesn't diminish the spell from being worthwhile, it does, from a mechanical standpoint, prevent it from being right up there top tier. But going along with that, in a similar vein, we have True Sight. Now, you could make an argument that this could be blue rated, but for me, especially in the hands of an alchemist, I see this as just kind of more a good spell. Not a really good one, but a good spell to have. It's touch range, it affects the creature touched, lasts 1 minute per level, so you get 16 minutes out of this, plenty for a couple of rounds of a couple of different combat encounters if they're back to back. You see things as they truly are, piercing illusions, blur and displacement effects. You will see invisible creatures and objects normally, and you will gaze upon the true forms of polymorph creatures, even upon the ethereal plane if you concentrate and squint really good to try to see what it is that's over there. And it will work out to 120 feet. This is handy for negating a lot of buffs that enemies might throw down. But, you're going to be encountering more invisibility at this level, but I wouldn't be too surprised about blur or displacement effects either. Certainly illusions will be at play too. Well, could be at play. Depends on the group you're with, depends on the DM you're with. If your DM uses a lot of these spells, then certainly this gets bumped up to blue pretty quickly. But this doesn't come up too terrible. These things come up, they do come up, but they are not consistent. So your mileage may vary with the spell, but by no means is this a bad one to have. Certainly helps if there's illusory effects over a hallway and there's all kinds of traps. You need to discern what the correct path is. It's very, very handy in those instances. But again, these are not all the spells that you have, and certainly these are not the only quality spells that you have here. We have decreasing levels of spell worthiness, worthwhileness. I lost my train of thought there. Point is, we have other spells to go through. And while these spells may not be the best in quality, I still kind of like some of these ones. So again, their mechanical effectiveness isn't that great. But, well, let's get to that in a moment. First up, we have Mislead. I actually really like Mislead, and I can see, at least with roleplay, if your group does allow for some really well thought out roleplay and banter back and forth, this can be much more useful. And certainly I've seen, at least in 5th edition, this spell get a lot of really good and clever use with the Acquisitions Incorporated plays. This is a close range spell, although in your case you're drinking your extract or feeding an extract to an ally. It targets self and it lasts 1 round per level and concentration for up to 3 rounds after. So basically you have to concentrate on this, and then when you cease concentrating, it'll last for another 3 rounds after that, or up to the maximum spell length, which in this case would be 16 rounds. You become invisible as per the greater invisibility spell, and an illusory double of you as the major image spell comes into being. You can move as needed while directing the double as you like, and you can conjure the image over yourself simultaneously as you go invisible to leave any onlookers unsuspecting. The image can't attack or cast any spells, though it can act like it's going to. And in your case, all your spell casting is going to be done through extracts, so potentially, if you're invisible and it's greater invisibility, if this thing pulls its bombs and begins throwing them, you can throw your bombs and have the projectiles still hit. And I would rule that, well, I could see that once the projectiles leave your person, they become visible, but you're still catching people by surprise. And I'd even accept an argument that because of the illusion, it looks like it's throwing bombs. Unless somebody's succeeding on a really good perception check, they're going to think that the illusion is the one attacking them until they interact with it directly, either by attacking it or some other means of detecting that the illusion is just that, an illusion. Anyways, next we have Analyze Dwemer. Never ever sure if I'm pronouncing that word right. Dwemer. Fun word, though. It's a close range spell, and it's 1 object or creature per caster level, and it lasts 1 round per level. Again, you're going to get 16 rounds out of this if you pick this up right away. Each round, you may examine a creature or object that you can see as a free action, and you can observe its magical aura. For magic items, you can learn its functions and how to activate them if that's applicable, and how many charges the item has left, again, if that's applicable. If the objects or creatures have spell effects on them, you can learn what those spells are, their effects, and the caster level of the spell. This will not function on artifacts. Artifacts are just too powerful for a spell of this level to analyze, and if you fail, you cannot analyze the item or creature again for another 24 hours. Another spell that's situational, certainly in terms of combat, it's not super effective. I can see some situations where if some creature's buffed up to a really insane level and you want to find out what the caster level is before you start trying to dispel, And then maybe, but then again, you may as well just try to dispel whatever magical buffs are on the creature anyways. So, analyze Dwemer, varying levels of usefulness. Really, really though handy though for identifying magic items. Or if you're treating somebody, identifying what kinds of curses may be on them, things of that nature. Non-combat oriented kind of activities. Still, not a bad one to have in your repertoire. But after that, we have Sonic Form. And Sonic Form, it sounds really yeah, sorry. It does sound really cool, but you become semi solid sound. You take new penalties moving through spaces 3 size categories smaller than you. You get a melee touch attack that deals 1d6 plus 1 per caster level points of damage. Silence spells, however, will deal 1d6 points of sonic damage to you per caster level for the science spell. Silence spell. Science. You get a fortitude save for half. This spell has a lot of problems with it. For one, you shouldn't be engaging in melee. You're wanting to throw bombs, and this, as far as I can tell, because you are now semi-solid sound, you're not able to pull any bombs, throw any knives, utilize any poisons. All of you, equipment included, has now become just sound waves, a vibrating mass of sound waves. It's actually really, really going to cripple you in this case. And even for the brawler type alchemist, this is still going to be really, really detrimental. This is not a good spell for you any way, shape, or form. And really, this isn't a good spell to be using on any of your teammates either. The rogue, well, maybe there's an argument to be made that they can still utilize their sneak attack. I kind of have trouble seeing that. But point being, you're a vibrating mass of sound. I see you taking some pretty massive stealth penalties in that instance. It's not rules as written, but you are semi-solid sound. How are you being stealthy? Anyways, this spell raises a lot of questions about its mechanical effects. Uh, all in all, I don't think it's a very good one. I don't think it's very well thought out in the whole grand list of all the spells in Pathfinder. So this one I think is pretty safe to skip. You're probably much better off skipping it. And in a similar vein, we have Eyebite. Eyebite is just terrible for you. Again, close range spell. You target one living creature each round, lasts 1 round per level, and you can, like I said, target one live creature per round to either sicken if they're 10 hit dice or more, panic if they're 5 through 9 hit dice, or render them comatose if they're 4 hit dice or lower. The target gets a fort save to negate, and each of these will last 10 minutes per caster level. So, putting somebody down for 160 minutes, not bad, but it's a 4th level creature. It's a creature with 4 hit dice. Why aren't you just beating the thing down? Why isn't the rogue just sneak attacking it? Or why aren't you just sneaking by it? Eyebite is not a good use of an extract for you, especially since 6 levels where you top out. This is definitely one to skip. This one sounds cool. It's a floating eye. Well, it's a floating effect that you send around. It can affect different creatures with it, but it's just not very good. Skip it. You have much better spell choices in this list, and by all means, this is not every single good spell is in here. Giant form is another one. Choose the troll form, get that regeneration, no penalties to your intelligence. A bit of a penalty to your dexterity score, but that is absolutely effective. And unlike with Sonic form, your body just transforms into that of a troll. You still have all your gear, so you can still throw bombs, and you have a much better strength score, a little bit of reach there. And again, that regeneration, that's hugely helpful, massively helpful. That can keep you alive very, very easily. Much better spell to have than either of these two here, and there's plenty of other spells in 6th level that just don't work all that well. But these are 1DM's thoughts. I am a lore master, but by no means am I the greatest or only lore master out there. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What are some spells that you absolutely love? What are some that you hate? Do you hate any of these ones on the list here? Please go on down and comment down below. I'd love to engage in conversation with everybody. Certainly, the alignment guide videos seem to have been taking off pretty nicely, and I certainly don't mind that. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all very much for your time, and have yourselves a good. Oh, right. Videos. An array of videos here for you to partake in. Please click on them. And with that said, thank you for your time and have a good night.